3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Well, Heidi ho, happy Monday, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Dennis and Andy Show, the Monday interview show, if you will, Dennis.
It is. It has become the Monday interview show, and we have not disappointed yet.
No, we have not, but we will, I'm sure, at some point. My parents didn't call me a disappointment for nothing. I got to live up to that.
Oh, we'll get you a T-shirt, and it'll even have an arrow pointing.
That's right. You will get you a T-shirt that says, I'm with disappointment, with an arrow pointing.
My wife wears it already, so it's good.
That's right. I see you're in your man cave this time.
I did. I got into my man cave. We had that internet glitch the other week and kind of found out why. Signal's just not strong enough down there. And my wife got her work done. So, because she has taken over my man cave in order to do her COVID work from home.
I got to say, with the way you have it, I've been in that room, but just the way you're set up with all the perspective going back the way it is, it really almost looks like that's a fake background on a green screen, but I know it's not.
For anybody who's looking, it's not. It's actually a real room.
With tons of comics.
I do. Lots of comics.
All right, well, let's stop beating around the bush. We're going to bring on our guest, Mr. Keith Champagne. He's worked on things such as Aztec, World War III, Countdown Arena, even, Dennis, did you know this? Adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters.
No, and the funny thing is, I remember reading that, but I did not know that was Keith.
Well, no, this is not the original from way back in the day.
Oh,
Ghostbusters, and him and I actually did WWE Heroes together, among other things.
Oh my! I can't wait to hear some of these stories.
Oh yeah! Oh, there he is, Mr. Keith, in his house.
Hey guys, how's it going? Andy, can you
How's
say
it going?
World War III again? Because that was great. You were like, World War III.
World War. That's my speech impediment. Wow, way to make fun of my speech impediment, Keith. That's not cool. I rode the short bus for a while, and there you go, throwing down.
Schwarzeneggerism.
What's a what?
It's a Schwarzeneggerism.
Oh, it's Schwarzenegger. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Wait, I'm going to do it again. And he wrote the series WW3. See, that doesn't work.
WWE3?
Yeah,
I think you're conflating some projects.
Wait, what did you do on WW3?
So WWE is different from World War III.
I know. WWE, you wrote and I drew. World War III, you wrote as well.
And you also drew part of that.
Right, yeah, I only drew one of them, though. So yeah.
It was the worst one out of the four.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah.
I mean, that was, you said like, before in your intro, you're talking about disappointments and like having a T-shirt like I'm with disappointment. That was definitely the World War III books. Yours was the disappointment.
Oh, I see how this interview is going to go.
Yeah, it's not going to be so much about Keith. It's going to be Andy's show.
Apparently not, man. I mean, just because so for everybody out there, Keith and I have known each other for 16, 17 years now. So, we have a nice repertoire of busting chops, if you will.
I think, I met you, we got to know each other when, I think.
It was like 2003.
Your daughter was newly born.
Yeah.
And my wife was pregnant with my first son.
Yeah.
So, a while ago now. And I've known Dennis for 2 years now, I think.
Yeah.
I like him better than I like you.
That's usually what happens.
Everybody says that. So we were having a debate. Was it Buffalo Wild Wings or Smashburger where we met first?
Ooh, so I think we went to Smashburger.
Bam.
And then the second time we went to Wild Wings.
Yep.
Right?
All right, fine. My memory's not what it used to be.
Yep. Got it.
The hairline.
Appreciate that, Keith.
Yeah. What hairline? What memory and what hairline?
Exactly.
Maybe I could just do this.
Yeah, that's better.
I could do that, and you girls can just chat.
No, we have to have a talking head in order to. There we go.
There, how's that? You can just see the circle.
Compare the circle picture of you to the drawing you did of yourself.
Yeah, I look exactly the same, except I don't have a hat on in the circle.
You did like all the crack and all the meth, and then your picture of yourself.
Oh, that's so hurtful.
All right, Dennis. You know what it is? You know what it is? It's actually pretty close to the same face. It's just you see the cowboy's hat, and that gives you the impression of the crack and the meth.
Yeah, you're right. That's I couldn't put my finger on it. Yeah. That's 100% what it is.
That's it. All right, Dennis. Ask him a question, for God's sakes.
So one of the things that always interests me, especially with you guys that have been in there for a while, I know Andy's story, but I'm kind of curious. How did you break into the business, and what was really the first thing that you did?
So the very, very first thing that I did, I was working at an art store in the Rockaway Mall. I went to the Kubert School like Andy did, but different years. And I was working at the Koenig Art Emporium in the Rockaway Mall to make some extra money. And Tom Mandrake and Jan Dursema came in one night to buy some art supplies. And I wouldn't have recognized them, except that Tom paid with his credit card or debit card or whatever it was.
They never substituted when you were there at the school?
No, I had never met him before.
Oh. So now, is this, just to interject real quick, is this working there after you graduated, or?
No, this is while I was in school. I worked all 3 years while I was in school.
So this is third year then, or?
This is my second year.
Okay.
So I was like, I geeked out a little bit. Like, I couldn't believe I was meeting like working professionals that went to the Kubert School. And so they probably met a million students over the years, but to me, it was a big deal to meet them. And Tom was nice enough to like give me his phone number and like give me a call sometime. Long story short, I would call him once in a while, and he was always nice enough to talk to me. And then he hired me to ink some background stuff over Jim Aparo pencils on a job it was a Nightfall job he was doing, which was a storyline back in the like 92 or whatever it was. So he gave me some very simple pages just to do the straight line stuff, and liked it enough that he let me do a couple other things for him, and I was off to the races from there.
How were Jim's pencils?
They were from what I remember, everything was there in his pencils. I wish I still had copies of them, and then it was kind of amazing. Like when I would drop pages off back with Tom, he would, ink some stuff in front of me just to let me know, like show me like what he would like. For instance, if I did the straight lines on a gun that a character was holding, then Tom would go in it and render the texture of the gun and the smoky metal texture and stuff. So it was like a second art school, like watching someone really do this stuff, in real time for me. And it was a real eye opener, very informative, educational. And he paid me too, which was even more of a bonus.
Oh, that's cool.
Double bonus.
Yeah. So from there, I met, I forget how I met Ken Branch, but he was inking 3 or 4 books a month for DC and Valiant, I think it was. And so he started using me on different books. And it wasn't a secret. Like his editors knew that he had a background guy. And so I sort of got to know the people from DC a little bit from working with Ken. And then in my 3rd year at the Kubert School, I showed Andy Kubert some ink samples that I had done. And he liked it enough to give me some of his pencils to play with and do samples over. And then he showed those samples to Bob Harris. And I got hired while I was in my 3rd year to start working on the XMen books.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
See, you learn something new every day.
I know. I
I
know.
mean, and I look back at that work and I don't know what anyone saw in it that
Right.
think I could do this professionally.
Do you still have copies of the samples you did
I
over
do
Andy?
somewhere. Like I have a lot of. We moved recently, and all my stuff's in boxes and things. But I do have
Yeah.
some ink sample. I did one over Alan Davis that got me work at DC at the same time as I was working at Marvel. Some Ramita samples, the Andy stuff. I guess the basics were there, but I definitely didn't really know what I was doing. It was more.
Some Ramita. Did you Ramita Junior or Senior?
Ramita Junior.
Oh man, that's hard stuff too, especially when you're first out of the gate.
Oh no, I cheated because I would. It was like Punisher War Journal stuff. So I would
Oh,
go.
so you
I
looked
would
at
buy
what?
the issue, and I would just copy Klaus Jansen's line weights.
Okay,
And
I was
try
going to
to do
say
my-
because I look at Ramita's stuff now. I've got a couple pencil pages of his from a few years ago, stuff he did at DC. I assume they were blue line inked. So I bought the couple pages of pencils just because they were cheap and cool. And I look at those and I know I could ink them, but there'd be some trepidation just because of how he pencils.
Yeah, you got to do a lot of thinking. You got to really think on your feet with that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
And of course, you remember our teacher Tex Blaisdell, the great Tex Blaisdell. That was always something he would tell me was that inking is thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's right. A lot of inking is thinking. It's about 3 minutes. It's about 3 minutes of thinking when you start a page to kind of solve all the problems in your mind, and then the next 6 or 7 hours you're just on autopilot, like implementing the solutions.
What's this 6 or 7 hours garbage you're talking about?
Well,
that's a long time to spend on a page. You're talking 2 pages, right?
So are you still old school, doing paper, or have you gone digital, or are you combo?
I'm 90% digital now.
Okay.
And I could never imagine inking digitally a few years ago. And then my buddy Tom Nguyen kind of like coached me a little bit on what equipment to get and like how to approach the stuff. And I started going digital when I broke my leg a few years ago, because I was immobilized for a bit and I could only work on a computer. And it would take me like 14 hours to ink a page digitally. Like I just didn't know what I was doing. And
right.
The one problem with digital is it's too easy to erase what you've done, to Control Z and go back a step and erase, so it was like every line, it was so easy to get rid of the lines I didn't like and go back and do them over and over and over. But then I slowly got to like inking digitally. And now I do most of my work on an iPad Pro in Clip Studio. And then for some stuff, like, some stuff, if it's a splash page or something cool, I might still do it on paper. But honestly, after 25, 26 years being behind a drawing table, like my back is shot. Like my back is really achy from the way my posture, sits over the drawing table. And it doesn't bother me as much when I'm on the iPad. It's I can lay on the couch or whatever and ink that way. So
you don't use your Surface anymore, your Microsoft Surface? Because I know you started on that.
Yeah, no, I don't use that anymore. And I have to my right of me, I have the Surface, and then here it would be this way because I'm backwards on the screen. I have a Wacom, and right in front of me, I'm talking to you on my iPad Pro. And the iPad Pro is the only one I use. I use it for writing and for inking.
Right. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
It is. Well, I'm a huge XMen fan, which everybody who watches knows. And I know you worked on some of the XMen stuff and Excalibur. So I'm assuming you just got it as the work came in with Marvel. They just said, hey, why don't you try this? Hey, why don't you try that? Right?
Pretty much, yeah. The first thing that Marvel gave me was 2 covers for an X-Men reprint book that Mike Parabek was doing the covers for. And they like those enough that they gave me Joe Madureira pages from Uncanny X-Men to jump on.
That's cool.
Back when Madureira was just starting out too. I think he was in like a year longer than me at that point.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember the order, but then it was like, here's half an issue of Wolverine. Can you crank this out in 4 days? Here's 6 pages of Excalibur. As I say, and I'm doing this at the same time as I'm trying to keep up with my classwork at the Cuber School because I'm still in school at the time. So I ended up hiring students, my friends in class, to do my homework for me.
So wait, was this third year or second?
This is third year. Yeah.
Third, okay.
We're in third year. So I hired my friends to do my assignments for me, and then I could focus on, on the actual work.
Were you past the point in the school year where if you were to go, you know what, I've got work, I might as well drop out and get some money back, to where you couldn't get money back anymore? Is that why you stayed?
I started working in like February.
So you were past the point.
I could be past the point, but it was also important for me to finish. I wanted to finish the program and get my diploma.
Well, I think, once you hit February,
Yeah.
It might have been different if it was like September, October. You never know, because then you're going, man, I've got work. Do I really want to go through 7 more months and I can get like 80% of my money back?
Yeah.
But once you hit that halfway point, you were totally beyond the point of getting anything back, so you might as well finish it.
Yeah, I was in it at that point.
Yeah. No, I hear that. When did you go to DC then, or what was your first gig over there? Because I swear, I thought you only inked, and maybe it is just a handful of stuff in the whole, career stuff at Marvel, but I didn't think you inked that much at Marvel at all. I thought you inked like a couple things over Sergio, and that was it.
No, it's funny. I worked on Sergio at DC stuff. I'll tell you that story in a second. I inked like a bunch of stuff at Marvel for a few months, and then I went to the Javits Center. There was a convention at the Javits Center, and I met Pete Tomasi, who ends up, all these years later, one of my best friends in the world. And
Right.
I showed him my samples at DC, and he was like, "Yeah, these are good. I'll show these around at the meeting." And I met another guy, an editor at the time, Pat Garrahy, who is not in the business anymore. And he hired me pretty much on the spot to work on, what was it? It was Deathstroke #0. Because they were doing the 0 hour thing or whatever that was at the time. And the penciler on that was Sergio Cariello.
Oh.
And so Sergio was in my class at the Kubert School. And he was, from day one, by far, like the most talented out of all of us. Like, he was ready to work from day one of the first year. He was just, he's really gifted. And so Sergio was like one of my best friends in school. Like, we were really like go to the movies a lot, eat a lot together, come by my apartment a lot. So next thing you know, we're both hired to do Deathstroke, and I'm working on half of an issue, and Sergio got me fired. He didn't like my inks on Deathstroke.
You told me that.
Seriously?
Yeah. So he complained to the editor, and next thing you know, Sergio had me bounced off the book.
I can't believe he didn't come to you first and just be like, "Hey, man, I just want to talk to you about what you're doing."
We're both very young in the business at that point. So I think, for him, maybe it was like, not that my inks were bad. They weren't great. I was just starting out. But maybe it was his chance to work with like a real, quote unquote, real inker. Not, this kid that, he's been more or less coaching at points, during our time in the school together.
So who picked up the job? Do you remember?
So Fred Fredericks, an artist named Fred Fredericks, inked the second half of that book.
Oh, I bet he was regretting getting you fired after that.
You know what?
Well, no, because Fred Fredericks was an old school guy.
He was old school. I talked to him a few times on the phone back in the day, and I don't know if anyone even remembers Fred Fredericks anymore, but he was in the business for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And a sweetheart of a guy, like, maybe one of the nicest guys I've talked to ever when I would talk to him. So anyway, so Sergio got me fired, and it's only because I'm such a great, big-hearted person that Sergio and I are still friends all these years later, just so you guys know. It's just because I'm an amazing human being. I overlooked that. That's
I've heard that about you.
Yeah, no. And then, so they moved me, the editor, Pat Gary, moved me over to Teen Titans instead of Deathstroke. with another. I can't remember the pencil's name, but he was also new. And then Will Rosado, Pennsylvania Will Rosado, took over that book. And Will and I didn't get along as penciler and inker. We get along very well as people, but
Right.
creatively we didn't get along. But we worked together, you know, and I forget what I did. Eventually, I moved off that book onto something else. I'll piece the timeline together in my mind in a second. I think it was from Titans to maybe Aztec, the Ultimate Man. Or maybe there's something in between there that I can't remember.
So what I'm hearing is when you inked me at DC on a couple things, the very first job you inked me on, all I had to do was call the editor and say you sucked, and I could have got somebody else, and we'd still be friends. God damn it, Keith!
Yeah, I know.
Why am I
your friend?
Why am I only hearing this now?
He made you sweat it out.
But you know, it's funny. Like I think back at that time in my career, and I had no idea like on how thin the ice was that I was standing for my entire career. Like I could very easily have been fired from Deathstroke and have never worked again.
Right.
And I was completely oblivious to that. You know, because at that point I had left Marvel to go to DC because they offered me a monthly book.
Right.
Bob Harris wasn't answering my calls anymore at Marvel if I would call him back. You know, so if Pat didn't put me on Titans and I didn't get that chance to kind of like show that I'm a really good deadline guy and a really hard worker and I really try to improve on every job, who knows where I'd be? I'd, you know, be working at McDonald's right now maybe.
Where were you living at in Jersey when you were going to the Kubert School in the third year?
I lived, there was some, I forget the name of them, but there's some apartments near the Rockaway Mall. And I had 2 roommates who also went to the school, like most of us did. And we had a nice little apartment.
So when you graduated, did you book it right back to Connecticut?
Did I book it? Not. Yeah, I think I did. There's at some point it's fuzzy because it's so long ago now. Like at some point, I spent a week as a colorist at Valiant.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah, I did some color samples for Valiant, and they hired me, and I started going to the Valiant office every day.
Yeah.
And just coloring what they put in front of me. And then I was kind of like, after a week, and this is again arrogant of me, like no idea, like how hard this make living comes up with the thin ice that you're standing on is like at all times. I was like, I don't really want to be a colorist, so I just left, and I never called them.
No way.
What happened to me? I just went home for the summer.
Oh
and
I've done that once, but it was never in comics. It was at the. It is funny though, because it's a Kubert School tie-in. In my third year at the Kubert School, I got a job at, I don't know, whatever grocery store in town, you know, in Dover. I can't remember the name of the grocery store, but you know, it was a big chain. And I showed up, and they're like, "Okay, go out and get the carts, and you know, be a cart boy." I did it for 45 minutes, and I was like, "Man, F this." I just got in my car and left. I didn't tell anybody. I walked past my car with a line of carts, and I was like, yeah, this sucks. I just pushed the carts, got in the car, and left. But I've never done that in comics.
No, I didn't know any better. I was just like, I'm going to go home and see my girlfriend for the summer. And then I think like a month or two later, someone from Valiant called me. It might have been Joe St. Pierre or Mike Cavallero maybe that called me. I was like, hey, what happened to you? We thought you were dead or something.
Just went home.
Yeah, Mike was in my class at the Kubert School.
Yeah. But, you know, I think sometimes maybe I should have stayed at Valiant. I mean, who knows what road that would have led to, but it was kind of cool. I was so shy at the time, though. Like, I was afraid to talk to any of these guys, and, you know, I just sit there at the drawing table with some P.H. Martin dyes.
Yeah.
With my head down and just completely afraid and not feeling I belong there.
Well, because at Valiant, when you were coloring stuff there, it wasn't, if I remember right, you weren't doing colored guides like at Marvel. What you colored was going to be printed.
Yeah, it was like hand painting on the copies of the pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, that would have been, for me, that just would have been nerve-wracking. So
Oh yeah, and I felt like these guys were all like professionals. These are the real deal, and I was just a little kid who didn't belong there. And I really was like, there was a couple of guys that would talk to me, but I was really afraid to like be outgoing and to chat with anybody for like fear that they'd figure out I don't belong there.
right.
So maybe like psychologically, I left them before they could throw me out. Maybe that's the breakthrough we're making. This is like a sitting on a counselor's couch here, learning a lot about
Tell
myself.
me about your mother.
That's why we're here.
Well, so you broke in, it sounds like, basically doing inking, but I know you've done writing, you've done penciling. I mean, you pretty much done the gamut. So how did they suddenly say, here, why don't you write this, or why don't you draw this instead of just inking it? I mean, how do you break into a complete different segue?
Well, I mean, with writing, it was a process of every time I'd finish inking a book for DC, and I was lucky to have monthly work from DC for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
I would, deliver the last batch of pages to the offices in New York, and then go out for lunch. And every time I came in, I would pitch something. I would have, a couple of ideas, and I would talk to the editors, and they'd say, no, you can't write. You're an inker. Go away.
But at what point did you start doing that? Like, 4
Maybe
years
like
after you broke
like
in?
a couple of years probably after
Yeah.
I broke into DC, I started feeling comfortable enough and getting to know the guys and girls there enough, in a friendly way that they'd listen to me.
Right.
And then they would laugh at me and they'd throw me out of the office. But I kept coming back, and eventually it was Maureen McTeague, who was an editor at the time and who was a sweetheart of a human being. She gave me like a 5-page secret origin story or a 3-page story to write. She was like, I like the way that you keep trying like every month to come in and try to do this. I feel bad for you. I'm gonna give you something to do.
I feel bad. You're
I
just
feel
like
like walking over, just patting you on the head.
You're like that. You're like that
away.
puppy nibbling at my ankles. Here's a
Pretty
treat.
much. And she's like, here, go write this and go away and leave us alone now. So I wrote it, and they hated it.
No way.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was too blown away. And actually, I got Sergio to draw it. That's how good a friend I am. Even though he got me fired, I still came back and said, Serge, would you draw this? My first story.
Did it see print?
Yeah, it's printed. It's in Secret Origins something or other.
So they hated it, but they bought it.
Oh, yeah, no, they bought it, and they paid me for it. And I think the editor leaned on it pretty heavy.
That's what I was going to ask. I mean, I would assume, it's your first writing gig. It doesn't matter if it's 3 pages or 20. If they read it and, they hate it, which is pretty hardcore to say. But still, if they hate it, you'd think they'd go, okay, look, here's some notes. You need to revise this and do this to make it better.
Yeah,
I would assume.
I think no one ever gave me any notes. They just, I think they just took it in and fixed it up a little bit, and then gave it to Sergio to draw. And Sergio did a great job on it. And then from there, it was, 2 years of not writing anything else for DC. Until finally, I wrote an issue of Legion, which, what was the context of that? I think at the time, Steve Wacker gave me an issue of Legion to write, or no, Mike McAvenny gave me an issue of Legion to write as I was working on Superboy with him. And Andy Lanning was the writer at the time, and Dean Abnett. And so he cleared it with them first. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Let him write an issue. That'd be great. So I wrote an issue, and then McAvenny left the staff, and it just kind of sat there. And then Wacker took over Legion and had Steve Lytle draw it. And
that's cool.
So it got, Steve took forever to draw it. Rest in peace, Steve Lytle. And where did they go from there? So it took him a long time to draw it. And then right before the book got canceled, they had a few issues at the end that they had to plug some stuff into. So they published it. And then after that, people really liked the Legion issue. And then they gave me Green Lantern Corps to write a few issues of that. And then we went from there. Everything started working out pretty smoothly.
Oh,
That's cool. I remember the Green Lantern stuff. I knew about the Legion just after Steve passed because you posted something on Facebook, I think,
Yeah, I'm
about the
sad that
one
he
issue.
passed away. He was a nice guy.
Yeah, that was shocking. I don't know how, because he wasn't that old. He wasn't even, was he just 60?
He was in his early 60s, I think, but it was COVID related.
Yeah.
He had a heart attack due to COVID. His heart
Right.
was working too hard.
I just wonder what he's done like over the past, because he was pretty prolific in the 80s, but then the 90s, because I took over Quasar from him because I guess he just wasn't fast enough because he only did like an issue and a half, and then I came in on that.
Wasn't fast.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I just wonder what he did, to make a living.
I wonder, like, how do guys make a living? If you don't see their name every month, you kind of forget about them, and then they pop up on a random issue of something at some point, and then I think, like, how is this guy making a living? He's not doing comics full time, clearly, but Steve, I guess, found a way to make a living. Who knows what he was doing?
You marry well.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think he's married to a doctor, but
for some of us, that is the key. Well, the one I was kind of curious about, because I know you worked, for the big ones, but I wound up, for those that could see it, Stranger Things. So I was sitting there. We were just talking right before you came on. I'm like, oh, I know something he worked at. I always keep it here because I love these. How did you get involved with Stranger Things, especially being a project from, Dark Horse, and how'd you get roped into that? Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have no idea.
They just called?
They just called. I had done an Inca series called Ghost for Dark Horse, maybe like a year earlier or 2 years earlier than Stranger Things, and then I inked a couple of things. Hardcover graphic novel inked for them. I forget what it's called. And then a zombie book that Bill Morrison wrote, I worked on. And then out of the blue, like a few months later, I got an email from the editor of Stranger Things saying, do you want to work on Stranger Things? And I was like, yes, I do want to work on Stranger Things. I very much would like to work on Stranger Things.
You were a fan of the show?
Yeah, a fan of the show. And like when I first got the gig for like 5 minutes, like my older son's friends thought I was cool because I was associated with Stranger Things.
5 minutes.
I mean, it faded pretty quickly, but
Sure.
like 5 minutes of glory. And that's been an amazing gig. I've done 3 series of Stranger Things now for Dark Horse, and I think I'm going to start writing a little bit of Stranger Things on the next one. That was what I was told.
Oh, that's cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know you did 3. I only thought you've done 2 because each one's 4 issues, right?
And each one's 4 issues. I did the first series, the second series, and the 4th series. And I think there's more Hawkins, Indiana in my future, one way or another.
I mean, dumb question, but the 4th series is come and gone, right? I mean, it's been out, right? It's not like they're sitting.
I think it just finished up like a month ago or something.
Is that the Dungeons and Dragons?
No, it's the Science Camp one.
Okay. Because I know you did 6, and I know you did the original one.
Yeah, the original one is probably like the highest selling book I've done since XMen with Madureira, like 25 years ago. Like the sales on Stranger Things were amazing.
Oh,
when in the hell is season 4 coming out on Netflix? Does anybody know? What the hell? I mean, seriously, it's in the can. The thing shot, as far as I know, I thought it was supposed to be like, always around Halloween because of the show. And it's just like, what are they doing?
Well, maybe they're waiting for Halloween of this year.
Oh,
could be. Or I think the thing I'm supposed to write takes place at the 4th of July. So maybe it's something with that. I don't know.
Oh.
Or maybe that means if that's the case, you'd be starting that pretty soon, wouldn't you?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. You just haven't heard yet.
I got to finish another project for Dark Horse, and then I'll figure out what's going on with that.
Ooh, is that a secret one, or can you tell us?
No, it's called Apex Legends. It's based on a video game, like a Fortnite kind of video game.
Dennis, have you heard of it? You video game guy, you?
I've heard of it, not played it.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm doing it with my buddy Neil Edwards, who's a great artist.
So that hasn't come out yet then.
No, I just finished the second issue like a week ago.
What is it, like 4 issues or something? Or
4 issues.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Are you
it's
inking it as well, or is somebody else
Yeah.
inking it?
fun. I'm inking it.
So you're writing it and inking it?
No, I'm just inking it, not writing.
Oh, I thought you were writing it. Oh, okay.
Just me and my iPad having fun.
Right.
Cool.
Well, that's cool. He hasn't fired you yet, so you know.
No, Neil's great. I don't know. Neil Edwards is like, he not a protege of Brian Hitch, but Brian Hitch did take him on his wing a little bit and give him some pointers.
Sure,
So
sure.
He kind of draws in that school.
Mhm.
He's kind of like he's sort of a genius of comics that no one has really picked up on yet in a lot of ways. Like he's really fantastic.
Yeah, no, I followed the stuff he did at DC for a while, so he totally is, like you said. You could tell he was influenced by Brian. I assumed he worked with him. So
Yeah, he's the sweetest guy in the world. He's a great guy. So like a really easy guy to work with and a real talent, which is the two things that are my favorite things about people in this business.
he said those things about me. How can there be more than one sweetest guy in the
I
world?
lied with you. I wasn't really.
God damn it. Son of a. God, you suck.
Well, so when's the next time you two are going to hook up on a project? You and Andy.
Andy and I are working on a project for heavy metal right now that I wrote, and Andy is finishing up the art on the first chapter of Heavy Metal Magazine, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, the art's
people
done
can
on
say the
my
F word.
Huh?
People can say the F word in this project because it's heavy metal, and there's some
And
adult
they can
situations.
and apparently they can perform the F word as well.
They can. Not that I would ever write for stuff like that. I did. I admit it. No, it's fun. It's a whole different sensibility to try to make something for adults or something that's a little more edgy. I mean, the underlying thing is always like tell a good story.
Well,
But
of course,
then-
yeah.
But then the frosting on that cake has a much different flavor than the regular
Right.
superhero comics. It's good times.
What's
Cool.
going on with the Mighty? Anything?
Yeah, there's stuff going on with the Mighty. I can't tell you what's going on though because it hasn't been announced yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But yeah, the Mighty is coming back. I can tell you
Cool.
that much.
That's
And,
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool because that's I love working with Tomasi, writing with Tomasi. We have a great friendship and we think the same in terms of story in a lot of ways.
Here's a good question for people. How does that co-writing work? Because
I make him do all the work.
right. That
and
sounds
then
about right.
I take half the money.
No, yeah, that's about right.
No, we alternate. We'll take the lead on different things, or he'll do a first draft of something, and then I'll do the revision, or vice versa. The Mighty
Right.
started out as a screenplay that Tomas and I wrote together years ago, and it was shot around Hollywood, and it was optioned, and we had a meeting with Stan Lee, who was involved at one point,
Hmm.
but they never made the movie, and then we were like, let's try to do it as a comic, and then Hollywood would buy the comic and make a movie that way.
Right.
So we made the comic, which has been optioned several times as a movie, but it still hasn't been made. But it was an easy gig to write because we just gave the artist the screenplay and said, "Here, go draw this."
But that goes back. Mighty goes back. What? Before 2010?
Yeah, the Mighty came out in like 2008 or 2009, and we wrote it in 2001 as a screenplay.
Oh, did you really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, years and years ago. So I mean, we've lived with this thing for a long time.
Right.
And it's exciting to have it come back a little bit. I don't know if it'll be this year or early next year when it's out in print again, but it's going to be fun.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's very near and dear to my heart, that project.
Well, I was going to say, out of everything, isn't that probably one of your favorites or your favorite?
Definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, it's in the top
Yeah.
3. You know, and not a lot of people have read The Mighty. It was never like the XMen or like Stranger Things, or it was the most popular book of all. But I'm very proud of it. Like, I think it's maybe one of the strongest things I've ever been involved in.
Right.
You know, from a writing standpoint and from an art. Like, we had Peter Snyberg did the first 4 issues, and then this young kid, Chris Somney, came on board and handled the last 8 issues. And he had never done much at that point. And look what he's going on to become. Like, Chris Somney is like the god of comics now.
Oh, yeah. He's huge.
And yeah, he's great. He's great to work with, too.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Oh, my God. What was I going to say? What made you... So when you were a kid growing up, obviously, I assume you collected comics because you went to the Kubert School.
Yes.
But when did you find out about
like
the
Sherlock
Kubert?
Holmes? How did you figure that out?
You know, I'm a genius. Look, Agent Cub here agrees with us. You need more comics on your spinner rack, pal.
Agent Cub, I just moved not too long ago. I got to fill up the rack again.
He's lazy. Well, what was the first comic you bought? Do you remember what it was? We always ask everybody that.
Oh, man. I mean, I don't know. Technically, it was the first one.
Well, that you remember.
The first one I really remember, I don't even know the name of the comic, but had Morbius, the living vampire, in it. And this is probably like 1974. And I remember there was a monster in the comic, and the thing was covered in eyeballs. Like, it had eyeballs in its palms and eyeballs on its fingers, and its whole body was covered in giant eyeballs. And Morbius had to fight that thing.
Any recollection there, Dennis?
No, I'm thinking that's not ringing a bell with me at all.
No, because the first thing I think of with Morbius is either did he have a comic back then? He didn't have his own book back then.
It might have been like, Journey into Nightmares or
Chillers or something. Well, the first thing I always think of with him is Spider-Man from that time period.
Spidey 101 was his first appearance, so I mean, it was probably one of the appearances right after that.
I just wonder what it would have been in, like a Spotlight or something like that. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I should probably Google that and figure out what comic that was and get it back. It would be fun to look at it again with grown-up eyes. And my older brother and I, like, we didn't know how to read yet, but we would just like touch the pictures. Like, every panel, we would just like go through the book and touch the panels.
Oh, I did that with Playboys.
Well, me too.
I'd go through and touch all the pictures.
I was there with you when you did that.
Right, but I wasn't using my hands.
Oh, I thought it was your pinky.
Well, you're giving my pinky a lot of credit. My pinky's, that's a lot of balls. It is. Yeah, you're giving my pinky a lot of credit.
Not really.
So
I was like, wow, his pinky's not circumcised. That's weird.
It's pointy.
got 2 tumors beneath his pinky. What the hell?
It's not the
Those are weird knuckles. Look at those weird hairy knuckles.
That's weird. Anyhow, so when did you discover the Kubert School? And I assume it was an ad in a comic like I did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an ad in the comic.
Wasn't that the one where it's draw this picture and send it in?
No.
No, I did draw that picture and sent it in, though. It was a turtle I drew.
I did that too.
Yeah. I don't think I ever got any feedback on that thing. No, I think it was the ad in the comics. And then after high school, I took a year off and then started going to regular college, like, part-time and then full-time, building back in. And my art teacher at the school I was going to said, "Why are you going here? Like, we can't teach you anything that you want to learn."
Right.
And so she really encouraged me. Like, she looked at my stuff and she's like, "Yeah, you should try to go to this cartoon school." So I got accepted. She gave me the courage kind of to make that leap.
Look at this.
But that could be it. Adventure into Fear 29. That could be it, Dr. Mask.
I'm going to have to Google it on my other screen just to see now.
Yeah,
now
see if that's what it is.
That
would be amazing if someone figured it out.
I'm going to Google it.
Especially if he did it just off the top of his head.
I know. There are guys like that. They just know.
I know.
You're one of them.
We've got a friend of ours. we call him the doctor. I mean, he knows the first appearance of anybody, anything for any. So we tested him, and we were like, Captain Marvel, when she got the first time she was ever got the stash on her uniform. Oh, Captain Marvel 20. Knew it just off the top of his head. And we're like, is that right? So we actually had to go look. It was. Just knows everything.
All right. Are you ready for this? This is, let's see. I can't make it any bigger, but is that it? Can you see that, Keith?
Let me get my reading glasses. Where they put them?
It's a guy, dude. It's a guy. It's a green guy with a bunch of eyeballs all over his body.
I think that's it.
It was written. It was written by Bill Manlow. Cover artist Ron Wilson. Oh, Don Heck did the guts.
Oh,
dude,
man.
you have got to get this book.
What is it? Adventure Interfere number 29?
Yeah.
Write that down. I'm going to order that tonight.
Dude, seriously, you got to get yourself one. I think it's so cool if people can go out and track down the first, the first book they had. Because, I remember the first one I bought, but then my brother was going through some old pictures last year, and he shared them with me. And there was a picture from like,
I remember that. I remember
the mid-70s. I was sitting on my mom's lap, and my brother was next to her, and she was reading a book, and you could kind of see the cover, and then there was another book on the table, and it was on the table, because I hunted him down, was the Iron Man with the Kirby cover where he's coming right at you and he has the nose. And then
I love the nose.
To me was an issue of Marvel Team Up with Spider-Man and I think Iceman. So I tracked them both down. So
yeah, I remember that. And I think someone on that thread on your Facebook like figured it out, like what it was.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell what the one she was holding was, and somebody figured it out. But yeah, dude, you should get that. That's freaking. That's
definitely
cool.
Get it, yeah. And I mean, even back in the in '74 or whatever it was when I had that comic, it didn't have the cover on. I don't think it was already like chewed up. So I'm gonna get myself a nice like 9.8 copy.
There you go.
That's right. Well, it's 1975.
So I'm not that far off.
No, you were pretty close to that too.
You're real close.
Google is evil.
Man, I tell you, I'm clicking the eBay link. This eBay link, that one's sold, but it's sold for $11.99.
Oh, that's a good price for an old comic like that. I think.
Yeah,
especially in nice shape.
But it's a good read.
Get that.
I do not.
Thank you, Dr. Mask. Dr. Mask is the man or the woman. Or
Google is definitely evil.
Yeah. No, I have a hard time. The first one I ever bought was E-Man #1. And that was just cool back then. And I was like, oh, don't know who this is, but he looked cool. And I picked him up. And the first one that I got that my dog ate. So my dog, we used to go on family trips, and back then we could sit in the back of the pickup truck. We had a cap on it, and we would drive for hours just laying in the back reading comics. So I had all my comics in an old skate box, and my golden retriever, when we went in, ate the box and ate all my comics.
Oh,
the one that he ate, though, that I can't. So that was the first one I bought. The first one that I had gotten was actually, and it makes me sad now because I'll never be able to replace it. I had a buddy from school. We all went to his birthday party. It was this is when Star Wars came out. And
I remember
there
this
was
story.
Nothing you could get. He wanted a Star Wars party. His dad was a traveling salesman. Came home. We had a Star Wars party. And the only thing that we got that was Star Wars related, because in 77, 78, there wasn't anything out. We got a comic book because they had done the adaptation. But we had gotten the variant back then. We didn't know it was the variant. It just had a different price on it. Well, that was really cool. I remember rolling it up, sticking it into my back pocket. I went home, and on that trip, my dog ate my E-Man #1, ate my Star Wars variant edition, and now I'm like, I really would like to replace both of those. I'll never I got E-Man now, but I'm never going to be replacing that Star Wars.
yeah, sure. Especially the variant.
Right.
Yep. And there were like 10 of us at the party, and all 10 of us got one of them. I would be curious to know if anybody ever kept them or if they were like me and they're all lost.
Bad dog. That's the moral of that story. Bad dog.
It was. We only had
Exactly.
that dog 2 years. Ate lots of things.
Almost makes me cry.
I know. I had a lot of my Fantastic Four and some of my old X-Men in there at that time. I know.
Luckily, you've recovered. You still have a couple of comics in your collection today.
I got a few floating around here and there.
As you can see behind him.
You have Adventure into Fear number 29 back there by any chance?
I don't. That's what I was just going to say. I'm almost positive I don't, because a lot of the Fear comics, that wasn't something that I collected, the horror, the Fear ones. I do every once in a while, but that wasn't my mainstay. I did get hit up. Jackson hit me up today, and he's got a slabbed 8.0 of Captain Britain number 8. And he goes, "Ooh, I know you want this one." And I'm like, I was at the gym, and I'm like, "Well, it's first Psylocke, but it's the UK one." I've never seen it here, and it was one of the few X-Men that I needed of first appearances. And I've never seen one here at a convention ever. So when we went to London a few years ago, I went through all the comic shops that I could find over there. Guess what the guy had on his wall? Number 8. Matter of fact, here, I actually have to show you, because he did not believe that I had it. And the guy had it over in London, actually signed by Claremont.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because it's oversized and stuff, because he wanted to sell me his. And I'm like, dude, I've got an 8.0 signed one. He's like, ha, no, not the New Mutants. We're talking. And I'm like, no, I've got that one. Don't you worry. So, yeah, that was my kind of fun one. That was this morning.
That's a good morning.
Yeah.
That's fun. When you went to the keyboard school, I assume you went with the intention of wanting to pencil? More?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to pencil. That was always my intention. Well, I was going to be I wanted to be John Byrne, and write and pencil and ink stuff, and then it didn't quite work out that way, but that's okay. I don't enjoy penciling. I can draw okay, but I second guess everything, and it takes me forever to actually do a page. And with inking, time is money, and I can make more money inking more pages faster than I can penciling. And also, I get to work with guys who are really, really good at penciling, as opposed to like my average, to mediocre pencils. So,
Right.
The comic world is better off that way. I do sometimes think, maybe in my free time, I'll write and draw a graphic novel, and then I think about how much work it is.
Yeah.
to do like a 64-page graphic novel by myself. And I just go back to watching TV.
Exactly.
So do you enjoy inking more? What is your preference? If somebody said, here's a book, you can either write it, pencil it, or ink it, which would you prefer?
I would always write it.
Oh, okay.
I would always write. I love to write the most of anything that I do. It's the most mentally engaging, and it makes me feel the most creative.
Yep.
I like to ink. I enjoy it. I especially like working with different pencilers, and trying to bring out the good things in their art that could maybe get lost, without me, which maybe is arrogant. I don't know. But yeah, I would always write.
Okay.
So yeah, I would go writing, inking, and then like 35 rungs more down the ladder, pencil.
Yeah.
There you go.
And over the years, I used to feel like I had to prove I could draw too, because I was just an inker. I don't care anymore. I'm happy just to be an inker. I don't need to prove anything to anybody.
Right. Yeah. So if you could ink any penciler, living or dead, who would it be?
Man, that's a tough one. I would say off the top of my head.
Well, you can pick three or four.
I would say, I've gotten to work with my hero, John Byrne. I got to write a story for him and ink it. So he's not on the list now, but he would be number one if I didn't already, work with him. And he was great to work with, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
John Buscema would be a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Also, Sal Buscema. I love the Buscema brothers. And I think, like, if I could be inked by somebody, I was thinking about this today, actually. I would love to be inked somehow by Bob Oxner, who I think is like a forgotten genius at this point.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Oh,
And
he was
who
great.
else would I let on ink? I don't know. Maybe like I was always a fan of like Keith Pollard.
Oh yeah.
You know, maybe someone like that. You know, that I always loved his work. He was never the biggest name in that time period, but
No, but he was great. He was consistent.
Yeah.
You know, he did a few issues of Green Lantern back in the 80s I really liked. I just picked up the Black Panther Essential, phone book thing. And he's got a few jungle actions in there that are really nice. Yeah, and he's real nice. I met him at a con back in 19. He's a really nice guy.
Man, I never met him, but I would like to, and just say, hey, thanks for all that great work. Like, a big part of my childhood was, Keith Pollard, and also because his name was Keith, that was really cool for me because I was like, oh look, here's another Keith, and he's doing it.
And it was work. You could say it was Keith and Keith that did it.
Exactly.
That's right.
Keith squared.
So what are you watching now that's good? Anything? Netflix? What do you got? Let's see if there's any crossover. Oh, do you have you don't have Apple TV, do you?
I do have Apple TV, yeah.
Have you watched Mythic Quest?
No, you know what the problem with Apple TV is, like, I got Apple TV to watch Ted Lasso, which I loved.
Oh, that was awesome.
And then like Apple TV logged me out, and I'm just too lazy to log myself back into Apple TV. So I keep paying, the $5 a month for Apple TV, and eventually I have to go through the rigmarole of getting myself logged back in to watch their shows.
Isn't it just your Apple?
I watched last night, and I finished it this morning. There was a documentary called "You Cannot Kill David Arquette."
What was that on?
It's about David Arquette's time in the wrestling business when he was in WCW.
Yeah, but what platform is it?
Oh, it's on Hulu.
Okay.
Well, we know it's not Apple TV.
Right.
Apple TV. I came away from that documentary, like, first of all, wanting to hang out with David Arquette, who seems like a genuinely great human being. But what a great, if you're into professional wrestling, which was I did forget my password.
Your password's password. We know it.
Yeah, just probably. Try
that. Great documentary for people that like wrestling. It kind of takes you behind the scenes a little bit of what was going on in WCW at the time and how they reacted to Dave Arquette being the champion. And also a great comeback story about this guy who just really loves wrestling and just wants to be respected by the people in the business and what he puts himself through for the next 18 years to get there. Like, it was a great documentary. I really recommend it.
I'll have to check that out because I didn't realize he actually won the championship WCW belt.
Yeah, it was like a stunt. He was in a movie at the time, like a wrestling movie.
I remember the movie.
And they were like, let's put the belt on him to get some publicity for the wrestling too. And then the wrestlers all hated it. They're like, what are you doing? You can't give it to this guy. This is a joke. You're making a joke out of our whole business. And that really hurt his feelings because it wasn't his fault. He just wanted to come in. He loved wrestling, always wanted to be in the business. And it all went wrong for him, and really, like, check it out. It was very moving in its own way.
Oh no, I like David Arquette.
I do too.
I will.
I do too.
Never heard of it.
And I especially like him after seeing the documentary. Like, what a great guy he seems like.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you can get back into your Apple TV, did you ever watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? You did, right?
No, I've never watched it.
All right. Well, Mythic Quest is created by those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it stars one of them. And it's basically about a guy that created a video game. And it's a $1 billion whatever game. It's,
MMORPG.
Yeah,
Okay.
There you go. Those words, initials.
Nerd.
It's really good. Ted Lasso was great, though. I watched that.
Ted Lasso made me feel so good watching that show, especially like in the middle of the pandemic. Just to watch something optimistic with a character that was just nice.
Yeah, that was it.
Nicer.
He's
no
just
what,
such
he's gonna be nice.
He's such a nice guy. I couldn't, like, I heard how good it was because I didn't watch it until probably a month ago. You know, it was in January, I think, when I binged it because I just burned through it in like a weekend, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is good!"
Yeah, it was a nice hug, that show. It was like a nice friendly hug.
And I got to say, the woman that plays the owner of the team,
She's great, right? What a fun character.
she's awesome, and she's easy on the eyes. So
Much like Dennis.
See?
of course. Well, on Netflix, if you like Kevin James, he's got a new show out called The Crew, which is a half hour.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't
started
watch it, but I've noticed it.
It's pretty good. I watched all 10 episodes in like 2 days. It was just, you know, it's a good sitcom. So
I just started it today, so I'm nowhere near ready for a review, Andy. Hint.
yeah, I know. If you like war movies, you could watch Greyhound with Tom Hanks.
That's on Apple TV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you.
No, I liked it.
No, he liked it.
Yeah, because it's
It
good.
wasn't horrible. If you like World War II movies, oh my God, you're going to make me sit down and rewatch it just so I can remember it. It was so forgettable. It is not like a normal Tom Hanks movie. Seriously. It's like I got amnesia. It was mediocre at best. And you're going to make me rewatch it so we can review it. I can tell you. I can feel it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not worth it.
What was the one? You have HBO Max, Keith?
Yeah. Oh, you
What
know
was
what's
the
a
one
great
with-
show?
What?
On Max is a Warrior. You guys,
Oh, I've
you guys
heard of
watched Warrior? It's the one based on Bruce Lee's like writings that his daughter finally got made into a show.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't watched it. They're
Oh,
probably,
man.
what, hour-long
That's what you should
episodes?
watch next. Yeah, they're hour long. So there's 2 seasons. And
It's already 2 seasons?
Yeah, I think they did 2 seasons on Cinemax, and there's no word on a 3rd season yet because Cinemax, like, I don't know if they went out of business or what. They're not doing programming anymore. So they rolled it into HBO Max, and it started to catch on. People were like, "Whoa, this show is amazing," and it really is. Like, what a great show Warrior is. Like, if you like kung fu and like crime and stuff.
Is it present day?
No, it takes place in like 1870s San Francisco.
Oh.
So it's like your childhood, Andy.
Pretty much, it's like Anne's childhood.
Well, you like sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody know what Final Space is? I've never heard of it.
I have not watched Final Space, so Agent, you'll have to let us know if it's any good since you just started because I haven't watched it.
I don't even know. I've never even heard of it. Have you heard of it?
No.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it. Matter of fact, I was going to ask if you'd watch The Expanse.
You know, I tried to watch The Expanse, and I just couldn't get into it.
Oh.
And I feel like there's something wrong with me because everybody says The Expanse is great.
I've never watched it.
It turns into the best sci-fi probably written in the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a shot.
Got to get through that first season. It builds, and each season gets progressively better.
Yeah, I'm going to put that back on the list. I'm waiting for the new season of Game of Thrones to come out because, like, I want to find out what happens to Arya when she goes off on that boat to Easteros or wherever it was, Essos.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about? There's no new Game of Thrones, is there?
What?
And what is Mau Mau? What happened to the real superheroes? You need to let us know what you're talking about because I have no idea. Final Space is an animated cartoon on TBS. Okay.
Oh, I'll look that up.
It's streaming. Like I said, it's streaming on HBO Max. So I mean, that means we'll have to look it up.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
look it up. Yeah.
I'm always looking for something good to put in the background while I'm inking, just for like noise.
Yeah,
And then
I
a lot
got
of
my
times
wife
the
into
shows are so
watching.
good, I gotta just sit down and watch them.
Yeah, I got my wife into finally watching Attack on Titans. So I do like anime and stuff, and really that's some of the best anime I've seen in years, but she's never watched it. So I was like, come on, just watch the first season. So she did, and she likes it. So
let's see. She said, what happened to the real heroes like Spirit and Rocketeer, Tick, Watchmen? Well, I mean, Spirit, DC still owns the Spirit, I guess, right?
I don't know who owns a Spirit anymore.
Okay.
Did
I mean,
you like it or
Rocketeer's IDW. The Tick comes out every now and then because it's still
the Tick
New
never
England
dies.
comic.
Like, you think the Tick is gone, and then they'll do another season.
no,
next
that's
somewhere.
because evil is always afoot, and he knows
exactly.
That's right.
Spoon!
I remember buying the original Tick comics,
Yeah.
in black and white, from
Oh,
a
yeah.
comic shop, and feeling like I just found like this gem that no one else knew about back in the day.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
They were
I got
oversized too, weren't they? If I remember,
Yeah.
They're oversized. I
Yeah,
think the second issue had like a die cut cover where there was a hole cut out of the cover.
I got it right back there. Yeah, it had a square. It was just
So
square.
funny. That book was so funny. Like it was just make me laugh out loud. And then I even I think it was New England Comics that put out the Tick.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I ever tried to do was write a proposal and pitch it. I pitched New England Comics. Like I couldn't even spell at that point. I was,
Dude, I would love, the Tick is actually one of those things that I wouldn't do a whole book with what I'm thinking, but basically if they were if you wrote like a 10-page Tick story and we took it to them and they would print it, I could see if they were like, just get it done when you get it done, doing it just to have a Tick story out there.
Oh, I would do that any day of the week.
Because I love the Tick.
Oh, the Tick is great. What a great character.
Oh, yeah.
it is.
And
And I
I love Arthur.
And the
Oh, yeah.
entire cast is good. Come on, American made.
Yeah. No,
You're
even the names of the characters are great. Every
Yeah.
name is funny. Chippendale Chairface was another one that I thought was great.
Yep. Yep.
Isn't he the one that wrote on the moon?
Yep, he wrote on the moon. It's like a weird, like a Dick Tracy comedy villains, basically, with their names.
I've got they've put out a couple big fat trade paperbacks, and I got the first one they put out, which is the whole Ben Edlund Tick. So it's just all his stuff.
Oh, that's cool. I'll try to pick that up.
I'll just say, and even the show, I mean, Patrick Warburton.
Oh my God, that was the best.
favorite. I mean, it was perfect.
He was perfect.
I mean, the Amazon Prime one, I still haven't watched the second season. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. But
You should
Patrick
watch it and review it.
Warburton was so good.
Yes.
And the costume. I don't think they did the costume any justice in the Amazon Prime one either.
Strong opinions about the Tick.
I know.
Strong opinions abound.
Spoon.
Spoon. I had the action figure. You push the button, and it would go spoon.
I still do.
Oh, talking one?
Wait, you mean the big one?
The big one, yeah.
Yeah, I got that right over there.
Yeah,
It
I don't
doesn't.
have it anymore.
It doesn't talk anymore.
I grew up.
but-
I don't have many toys anymore.
Oh,
Just the
what's
one-
that behind you?
Well, the Shogun Warrior I've had since I was like 7. That's like my.
Oh, is that
that's
Dan?
my thing. And
Vanguard
that-
Ace?
The Buddha
Oh,
was,
like
my,
Star
was my
Warrior.
grandfather's before he died, and then Darth Vader, some character that I think is
Right.
going to be popular someday.
Because the evil is within you. I get it.
Yeah.
Shogun Warriors. Now, there's something near and dear to my heart.
Oh, I love the Shogun Warriors. Yeah.
You remember I remember watching, it was like early 80s, 81, and they came on to little shorts on Showtime, and they had one every month for X number of months. So it was Star Warrior, Star Arrow, Star Poseidon, Vanguard Ace,
Oh, yeah.
Raiden.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
And then,
the
the comics, the Shogun Warrior and the Godzilla comic at the same time in my childhood.
Yep.
Like, what a 1-2 punch that was for me.
Yeah.
And I think Herb Trimpe drew them both.
It was
Yeah.
Herb Trimpe. Yeah. He
Yep.
drew them both. And I think they incorporated in each of them at some point the Marvel heroes in each one at some
Yeah, I
point.
remember Godzilla shrunk down to like the size of a mouse.
Yeah. He was in the
They
sewers.
were trying to catch him in New York City, and he was getting bigger every issue. He was starting to grow again.
Yeah.
That was a great storyline when I was a kid. I couldn't wait to find out what was going to happen the next month. And
What are
then,
you
of course,
thinking about the Godzilla Kong? I'm sure you've seen the trailer.
I don't love the new Godzilla stuff.
Oh, come on. It looks awesome.
I know the trailer looks fun. I don't love the new Kong. I don't love the new Godzilla, but I'll watch it. Like, I'm sure I'm going to have a good time with it.
Why don't you like the new Kong and Godzilla?
I don't know. It's just something about it. It just feels hollow to me. Like, it doesn't have the same, not cheesiness, but like the same charm of the original Godzilla. And I was always a more Godzilla guy than Kong anyway. Out of all of them, Gamera is the one that is my favorite, the flying space turtle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
But I mean, if you look at it realistically, there ain't no way Kong should beat Godzilla. If they do it right, Godzilla's just going to fry him from 2 miles away. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear that. Are you looking forward to the 4-hour Justice League Snyder cut?
No, I could give a shit.
Oh, I can't wait.
I could care less. I'm sure I'll watch it, but it's, when am I going to? Oh, I agree with you, Dr. Mask.
Yep.
Hang on, Dr. Mask.
I hate the Avengers. They're disgraced to Oh.
And it's the big ones.
Man, it's one of the
Oh,
big
yeah.
ones. I got this for Christmas when I was like 7 years old.
Wow.
And he's been with me every step of the way. Like every move I've gone through, like Dragoon has come with me. He went to the Cuba school with me, from house to house as I grew up. Now he watches over me every day. He's a great toy. And also my buddy. I talk to him.
Has anything fallen off? Like have stickers fallen off of him or anything?
Yeah, he's like, what was the Toy Story where they took Woody and they refurbished him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he needs some refurbishment like Woody did. But my favorite possession, I'll be cremated someday and they'll cremate him with me.
The only toy I have from my childhood, action figure wise, is my 1983 He-Man.
Yeah, I love He-Man too.
I'm just missing the sword and the shield. Other than that, this is the one from 1983. And this same thing, went to the Kubert school with me, went just everywhere.
Yeah. Almost like a deluxe arm.
You made him jealous.
Yeah, the only one, I actually don't have any of mine. When I went off to college, my mother threw out all my toys. So I had to recollect them. So,
oh my God.
I know. My mother still feels sad because I make her guilty even to this day. I
would too.
I was the Miko Star Trek.
Oh, that's not nice. Too old. You're never too old for toys, Rankabot.
There's no such thing as too old.
Never.
Especially if you got to Stretch Armstrong.
Which was very, you should never eat the stuff inside Stretch Armstrong. I learned that when I was a kid.
I've got the mini.
There was that like thick green goo inside Stretch Armstrong.
So how did you get to the goo? That was going to be my question.
Well, I think with Stretch Armstrong, you could only stretch him so many times before he would start to split.
Okay.
Or if I took an arm and my older brother took an arm, we might stretch him way too far.
Sure.
Even Stretch Armstrong couldn't handle the pressure that we put him under.
Oh no.
But then that stuff came oozing out, and I was like, this is interesting to me. It kind of looks like a green pudding in a way.
Ew.
But it didn't taste like pudding.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but Agent Cub, we don't know how old you are. You could literally have an Optimus Prime that's within the past 20 years.
Is it a G1?
Yeah, it needs to be a G1 to really, really mean something there. I assume that means Generation 1.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. The G1s were the originals.
Oh, we know.
My brother, we had the Optimus Prime and the Megatron, and then Trax, Thundercracker. We had a bunch of them.
Oh yeah, from the 80s.
Yep, that's a G1 then. Very cool.
There you go. You got
I
that.
would get home from school in high school, and it was like the glory days because I would sit down and I watched Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats.
Yep.
In a row like every day. And then Inspector Gadget would come on, and I would peace out on Inspector Gadget. I had no time for that.
Exactly. Cartoon. There was cartoons after school, the Saturday cartoons. But my mother was a nurse, and she would get up at like 6 a.m. and then we had Robotech and Star Blazers on at 6 a.m. So I would have her get me up so that I could watch those early in the morning and then go to school.
Yeah, Robotech was really good back in the day too.
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of Robotech. I made my kids watch it, and they're like, Dad, this is gross. How the hell could you even watch this? I'm like, if it wasn't for Robotech and Star Blazers and Akira, the stuff wouldn't exist today that you guys know about. And they're like, that's not even watchable, Dad. Just go away.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just go away. Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Your kids love you then.
What's that?
Your kids clearly love you.
They do. I mean, I like for my kids, they grew up with X-Men everything, but my son liked Deadpool. That was what he took away, and my daughter got into manga, and that's what she took away. So they really don't care about any of the stuff that I do, but they found their own path, and that's what's important.
That's what they do. My kids could not care less about comic books.
Really?
Yeah, like I think just growing up, like inside of it, they just don't care. They never the bug never bit them. I guess the way it did me when I was a kid. And I tried. I would give them comics and stuff to read, but my kids. I don't know if it's universal now, but kids don't like to read anymore.
No, they have electronics.
Yeah, pretty much.
Reading's boring for kids. But
yeah,
whatever, Dad.
It's not fundamental. It's not reading is fundamental.
Yeah, comics were a great way to learn to read when I was a kid. It was like the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I used to have the flashlight under the sheets, and I had my comic books, and they'd be like, go to bed. Okay. Lights would go out. As soon as they walked down the hall, flashlight would come out, comic books would be open, and they'd sit up all night and read.
Yeah. I was the same way.
The kids don't anymore.
I had a flashlight under the sheets.
Yeah, but that's for a different purpose.
What do you I don't understand what you're implying. What do you mean?
Nothing.
I'm really confused right now. What did I miss out on when I was a kid?
Lots of things. Lots of things.
No innuendo there.
All right, Keith, we're gonna let you go. We've had this was fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah,
I hope you did too, Keith.
Nice to see you again, Dennis. It's been a couple of years.
Yeah, you too. Well, we'll see you next time you make it to Charlotte whenever the country opens back up.
Yeah, when we get back to normal, I'd love to come back down to Heroes Con again. That was a good time.
Did you guys see that they officially canned San Diego? I mean, we knew they would.
Yeah,
they officially did.
No surprise.
There wasn't much doubt.
They're going to supposedly do a 3-day thing in November.
Well, eventually, everyone hang in there, and maybe by end of this year, we're back to normal.
Well, did you see C2E2? Because as soon as I saw San Diego was canceled, I was like, well, I'm sure C2E2 is. That's always in the spring. C2E2's dates for this year aren't till December. So
Really?
They already prepared and already had the dates.
Pushing pretty far out, yeah.
Yeah, if you go to their website, it has the countdown clock and like they always do, but it's December. So
I tell you, I really feel for these show organizers.
Yeah.
It's a hard way to make a dollar anyway.
Oh yeah.
And they get pushed out like this over and over again. I don't know how these guys are still hanging in there, even trying to promote shows at this point.
Well, we're going this weekend. We've got one up in Hickory, so we're going to a local one. It's all we can do. Support the local shows. So we're hoping it's all right.
Oh yeah, knock on wood.
Hold on. This guy probably really means it wasn't a flashlight. It was a fleshlight, and it was just last week.
Why is your wife writing you on this thing, Andy?
Hey, a man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Yep, and this is where the show took a turn.
I don't have to worry about bottoming and out on a fleshlight. So
change the batteries.
Well, I feel like I definitely overstayed my welcome at this point.
All right.
Yep.
Everyone, thank you for joining another fantastic interview episode of the Dennis and Andy Show. We'll be back next week with Aaron Lepresti. And until then, thank you again, Keith, for joining us.
Thank you, Keith. Good seeing you again.
Yeah, talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, everybody, for joining in. And we'll catch you guys on Wednesday when we do our comic book show. So until then, bye, everybody.